Thank you everyone for joining webinar today. My name is Michelle Lee. I'm the Business Development Manager of EduLab. I'll be uncovering the computer lab setup cost compared to physical lab and EduLab today. Really, the purpose of this webinar is to contribute towards the sustainability of your business in running IT courses. So, I understand that there are times that we have a lot of students, but I had my own Course college for nearly 10 years, but I also understand when we have a little student. However, when it comes to setting up a computer lab, we invest so much money up front. So today's information hopefully will help you to see the alternative where you can reduce the cost of a computer lab setup cost when you use EduLab. Let's begin. So before we start in some more detailed information of numbers, I would like to thank our early adopters and our team members in Australia and in Europe for the amazing effort for receiving the Minimal Viable Product Grant from the Jobs for New South Wales, and also receiving highly commended from Consensus in EdTech category in 2019. In 2020, we are looking forward to assisting more IT colleges, IT providers in modernizing their IT courses and improving student experiences, those students who are studying IT courses, and also helping the colleges to meet compliance obligation and strengthening IT skills for your graduates with EduLab. So, as I said before, what is EduLab? Okay, EduLab is a cloud-based computer lab for IT education providers. It offers cost-effective option because you can have lower-end computers while you accessing complex lab environment. It offers infinite scalability to have a lab environment to any student number at any given time. And also it offers infinite flexibility, meaning you can turn any classroom into a computer room and your students can access those labs anytime, anywhere, meaning students can start the work in the classroom and continue at home. That's what EduLab is. And we believe empowering future IT experts with EduLab anytime, anywhere. This is our philosophy. What does Consensus say about EduLab? They say EduLab team and lecturers work together on customization of the lab environment, simple or complex, to satisfy the learning outcomes to create a relevant lab environment to solve real problems, creating industry-based real-life projects. Here you can see more details. Lab offers multi-site network simulation, complex ICT network setup, cybersecurity, penetrating testing, and a lot more here. The value EduLab brings is so different to a physical lab. You can see. So it is not easy. It was really not easy for me to just compare the cost and say, physical lab is better or EduLab is better, because they're just so different. However, I also acknowledge the importance of cost factors when making a decision to adopt EduLab. So I will be comparing the cost of having EduLab versus physical lab today. First of all, let's have a look at what you need to facilitate a physical lab. You already probably know, but a physical lab comes with fixed condition that requires purchasing of computers, purchasing cables and cabling cost, purchasing suitable furniture for a computer lab, and other fixture costs. And don't forget, you have to have a designated computer room and IT support officer to maintain those equipments. Whereas EduLab is a cloud-based computer lab, so you have two choices in facilitating a lab. You can choose as simple as Chromebooks or any laptops and use these equipments in any room when you want to turn any room into a computer room. Or you can have a lower-end computer such as ultra-small form factors. This is basically having a screen and a little Raspberry Pi little box that becomes a computer. And you can use this type of lower-end computer and have EduLab to have something simple or complex lab environment that is suitable for the units that you want to offer. Chromebook option is a little bit dearer than the USFF option. However, it comes with more flexibility. Whichever the option you choose to use, use EduLab, whether it's Chromebook or USFF, you have the access to infinite scalability at any time, and students can use and access this environment anywhere, any place, as long as there is they have a browser and internet. And students no longer need to share a computer. This is actually a huge plus because now then you don't have to wipe out the computer after one student has used for you to facilitate for a next student to use, and which also means students can continue to work from where they left off because they have their own individual environment. And also students can bring their own device. So you can execute the bring your own device policy, and students can use their MacBook if they wanted to, PC, Chromebook, whatever they have already, yeah? And it has a huge savings in the end for the college. So when I'm comparing the price, these are the things that I'm looking at. I mean, I had to create some elements to compare. So today I'll be using an example of having one lab, having 4 shifts of students. And let's say average 20 to 30 students are in one class. So let's say 25 students are in one shift. So one computer lab with 4 shifts, serving up to 100 students. That's the number I'll be using. And the type of lab is really important because depending on the unit you're offering, you have to have a really powerful computer, or you can have a very simple computer, refurbished computer, whatever it is. However, today I'll be looking at sort of a mid-range computer lab setup. And this lab setup is really for, let's say, if you were to offer ICT 60115, Advanced Diploma of Information Technology. I mean, I chose this course because of 2 reasons. 1, because it's one of the most popular courses out there. And 2, because there are 4 practical units that really requires a good computer lab. And because of it, because there's only 4 units, it really gave me a sort of a scale of what it will be, what cost it will be for EduLab subscription. So if you were to offer 4 of these units and you're offering this course, Advanced Diploma of Information Technology, you're looking at around $150 per user per course. And EduLab units, as I said, I don't know if I told you already, but it's between $25 to $45 per unit per user. So before I go any further, please note that information provided here, the numbers that I'll be using is really just for the comparing purposes. So if you are going to do your own analysis, please get your own quote from elsewhere so that you can get the really accurate analysis. So let's say you have one lab of 25 students, but you have one trainer. So let's say you need 26 computers. For physical lab, I told you already, we'll be using a mid-range computer option. The estimated total came to be around $59,722 to have this 26 computer, and also, setup cost included as well. Whereas in EduLab, as I said, you need very basic computers. So here I'll be using Chromebooks as an example. And to have 26 computers is estimated of roughly about $18,749. And these two figures in yellow, I'll be using it again and again. So let's move forward. So when you compare those two prices, you are saving up to 68% on setup cost, simply because you are able to use such a lower end computer when you have EduLab. But remember, EduLab, it comes with subscription model. So here, let's say in the first year, you have EduLab for 70 students. Although the capacity of the lab is 100 students, I mean, no labs are fully 100% always full. So I'm just using a 70% capacity here. So in 70% capacity situation, we're looking at about $8,050 for subscription, yeah? Then the first year's estimate overall cost come to be $26,799. And that comes down to 55% savings still. Let's say in the second year, you have another 70 students intake. Then the total overall spending comes to $34,849. The saving of 42% compared to having a physical lab. Let's say in third year, suddenly you have an influx of students and you have 120 students, which means you have to open up another lab, yeah? So the second lab facilitating cost will be another $59,722 for a physical lab, let's say. And for EduLab, facilitating another set of Chromebooks, it will be $18,749. The total estimate of having the EduLab, the overall cost, will be $67,398 versus physical lab of $119,440, saving of 44%. And previously, I said to you there are two options. You can have USFF, which means having a monitor and little, Raspberry little box of computer. If you were to go with that option, you do have to have a designated computer room, yeah? But students can still access their lab environment anywhere, anytime. So you still have a lot of flexibility and scalability, but just keep it in mind that you'd still have to have a physical room, a designated room for a computer lab. In this scenario, you have much lower setup cost of $13,430. So if you were to go with this option, including the third year of EduLab subscription of 120 students, you're still only paying $56,760, whereas the fixed cost you have to invest on physical lab of $119,440 remains the same. And the setup cost, if you're just looking at the setup cost, physical lab versus EduLab, EduLab having an option of USFF, you're saving up to 78%. So overall, this is what it looks like. You're saving overall cost of 52% and the setup cost saving of 78%. Look, when you are doing your own calculation, there are three important things that you need to be aware of. So what type of lab do you want, do you need for what units? You need to think about that first. If you are offering some complex unit, you need more powerful lab. But if you're, offering something simple, of course, you can compare with much lower end options. So firstly, just consider the type of lab you need. And then second of all, how many students are you facilitating it for? If you are sure that you're going to have full capacity every year, perhaps, I don't know, physical lab might be a better idea. But if you're not sure, in this such a volatile market, we are so influenced by external, situation, what's happening even, overseas, that affects the number of students in Australia. If you're quite not sure, then perhaps EduLab is a good idea. But yeah, you need to consider how many students you think you're going to have now and in the future. And of course, number of units you're going to have in EduLab. As I said, EduLab is between $25 to $45 per unit per user. So you need to know how many units you want to offer in EduLab. Let's compare with this particular unit, because this is one of the very popular units, and it's an excellent practical IT unit. So it's ICT and WK 5 to 9, install and manage complex ICT networks. And the next one is ICT and WK 5 3 6, plan, implement and test enterprise communication solutions. If you want to offer these units, you need something powerful. You need something complex, because this is the setup that you are required to offer ICT and WK 5 to 9. You have 7 virtual components here. You have a you need to have simulation of 2 site environment, as you can see here, Sydney and Boston. And where those 2 sites need to be connected to internet. Yeah, you can see those lines going up. Within this environment, you need firewall for each site, and each site needs different network services, as you can see in the diagram, the total of 7 components. I mean, how much would it cost to set up such an environment if you were to do it in a physical lab? I mean, hundreds of thousands of dollars? I'm not sure. And is it even be possible? Would it be possible for you to set up a physical lab where your individual students get their own environment and they can access anytime, anywhere? I mean, would it even be possible? And if so, how much? Look, answer to that, I can't give it to you. It's too complex for me. Moving on. I mean, that's not all, as I said before, education providers must also consider the fact that any could happen at any time in terms of student number. Because we are so influenced by external events. For example, when assessment level of a country that you recruiting from changes overnight, you may have influx of student next year, or you might even have less student, depending on whether assessment level goes up or down, yeah? And also the policies in overseas government, when they change, the number of students that you can intake changes as well. I put this pandemic picture there. I mean, we have this coronavirus. I don't know what's going to happen, but some of the events that are happening affecting the student number intake is just so unpredictable. But we need to be, adaptable to change. Such a volatile market, we need to be ready to change and change fast. When there's a lot of student number, you need to be ready to have a lot of student number, and don't lose that opportunity to intake more students. But at the same time, when there's a low student number, you need a strategy to sustain your business as well. And that's a reality. Just like we used to do research in a library, but now we're doing it all through internet, just like we used to study at a college. But more and more people study online. I think a cloud-based computer lab really is going to be the next thing, and the physical lab, I don't know, it's only a matter of time that a cloud lab computer will replace a physical lab. And that's not all. EduLab understands your compliance requirement. So we offer, what we call it a generating report. So we are able to give you a report when the users accessed your lab and for how long and doing what. So this will help you authenticating assessments, or, when who was using the EduLab and when. And another thing is, because it's such an individualized lab and students are not sharing the lab anymore, it will reduce the risk of plagiarism, especially for practical IT units. I hope this information I'm giving you is helpful to you today. So look, if you want to try out and if you want to know more about EduLab, do feel free to contact us. Just get our expression of interest form and just fill it out so that we know what units you want to offer, practical units in EduLab. And because we give you a 2 weeks trial period, you can try it for free. Yeah, your trainer can give it a go and see what it can do, and always ask for changes as well. And then, yeah, when you're ready to roll out, just let us know, and we can facilitate the lab environment for you. If you have any questions, please feel free to just text right now or send us an email. We'll do our best to answer your questions. I'm going to stay around for a couple more minutes to see whether there was any questions came through. I'll do my best to answer. But otherwise, thank you so much for participating. I can't believe I was talking nonstop, nearly 30 minutes. It's incredible. But really looking forward to seeing you face-to-face next time. Once again, thank you so much for participating in the webinar.